Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unique Not Different with me, Shamla. Today, I have Sheena Ribeiro, who is here to share her story of surviving a stroke. Sheena is a self advocate, and today, as I mentioned, she's here to share her story. So, good morning, Sheena. How are you doing?
Hi, good morning, Shamla. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Same here.
Let's begin. In terms of, when you got the stroke, where were you at in life? And how did it impact you?
Well, I had a down moment, whereas, well, mobility was one. Whereas, you had a lot of challenges, whereas you couldn't do things that you want to do on an everyday basis. It was tiring. And you know what I had was to push myself in order to recover, right? The main step was to just focus on, for example, therapy, family support, and so on, in order to get here, to get back on my feet, to be able to do things.
Right. And in terms of like, where at that stage, right, you seem very young, right? And
Yes.
people think that, okay, when we have issues like neuro issues, like a stroke, you tend to be older. But, what would you like to see in terms of where were you at like in life back then before the stroke?
Well, I was a busy mom, every day going places, doing things, getting the children prepped for school, things like that. But it have it become like a toll on me where I couldn't do much. I couldn't do much for them per se. Like I didn't feel normal again. And then you know what? I reached a point where I was saying, you know what? You need to pick up yourself and stop self-pitying. You need to get up and just be you. It doesn't make you how to say it. It doesn't really break you, but it help builds you as a person, as an individual.
Right. And you mentioned that, you reach a stage in your life that you said, you know what, I have to get up and go. I have to continue for my children. Right. I'm sure that it getting the stroke, being normal, quote unquote, and then I'm sure it impacted you physically, emotionally, and mentally. Right. What was that transition like to get up to that stage?
Well, it emotionally, I felt in the place where I was feeling a little bit depressed, and when I look at myself in the mirror, I say, you know what, this is not you. Despite you are still survive a stroke, it wasn't a stroke there, whereas I was not able to have like a bleed to the brain or so on, right? So I pick up from there and I said, here what, if I have to push myself a little more extra, that is what I did in to help my recovery.
Awesome. And in terms of access to services such as therapy, and so on, what
Well,
access and was it tough in terms of getting access to the proper therapy services for you to transition?
yes, I had was to go through therapy at the public health facility, and it have been a change for me because basically it helped me to reach this far.
Awesome. So in terms of like your perspective now, right? I'm sure that I am very sure that when you were before the stroke, you probably took some things for granted in terms of access and services and so on. How did it change your perspective in terms of where we are in terms of services, access, and stuff like that? Physical access, access to therapy, and so on.
Well, at first it was challenging, right? And then it becomes, well, basically it doesn't really have much for a person who is different. I call myself differently able. Um, well, to access, like for example, like the social services, whereas we have to access money. Sometimes the $2,000 sometimes doesn't cover all our basic needs. For example, like if we have regular bills like everybody else because we aren't able to work, you know, we have to some of them paying rent, Some of them have to, they're not able to go outside and be like everyday, like an everyday person, right? So they would look forward to like having internet services to explore and see what it is outside there, like the world outside. That is probably the only entertainment or the closest to seeing things at a different view, you know? So
Yeah.
this $2,000 really cannot cover all the expenditure, because some of us, like example, I have like 7 different clinics that I have to attend to, right? But it's a challenge, it's a challenge.
Okay, in terms of like, what gives you the will to live right now and move on?
Well, first of all, I would say God is the most and foremost, the first person. Then I would say my children, second and foremost. And I would also say, you know what, I just have to pick up the mantle and just be me and enjoy life to the fullest that I could at this point in time. That's all I could do, despite all the medical, issues.
In terms of advice, you would like to give persons who have a similar issue, such as, a neurodiverse issue, what advice would you give to them in terms of picking themselves back up and moving on?
Well, I would say just don't give up, and pray about it a lot, and, probably find groups, for example, like Hawaii DPI group. Let us be happy to be part of that group, and speak with others and find out what issues other people, and you could compare and you could relate to some of these issues,
Yeah.
as a
So,
support.
given your life now, right? You accepted who you are right now. In terms of like an ideal life, given that you are the shock victim, where would you like to see? Do you see yourself working? Have you tried to seek employment? And is it hard in terms
Yeah.
of getting employment?
Yes, it's very hard, because first of all, they will not want to employ somebody who have issues, because you may have medical issues, whereas sometimes you may not be able to show up to work, regularly. You might become ill at some point in time. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. So we probably could find something that we could be. I would like to see a change, whereas we could get things so could help us. We could do things otherwise and just get things to do as part of being different.
In terms of awareness, right? You have your children. I am sure that you have to attend, parents' day, school meetings and stuff like that. Um, how was it in terms of your children's perspective? Having to be there for your children and having to attend these events with your children. Is it hard?
Yes, so sometimes it has been hard, but determination is one. I'm very determined to get back to that point, that place in my life where I could just not be just a stroke survivor, but somebody could look up to. From a disabled community, they could look up to me as an example that if I could do it, they could also do it as well.
In terms of acceptance from, accepting who you are, as an individual now, as a mom, and so on. What was that acceptance like in terms of the public seeing you and being a mother with a disability? Was it, different or tough and tough from a public eye?
Yes, I used to get a little stare, but you know what? I just, determination again. I suggest, say here what, this was something that happened to me. This experience has made me stronger. It didn't make me weaker as a person, it made me stronger, so that I could learn from this experience and share my experience with others and be a good
Awesome.
mother. Yeah.
Awesome. And in terms of self-acceptance, what advice would you give to young persons, especially because we know that in general, there are a lot of young persons trying to, I guess, mimic themselves to be perfect. And it takes a toll on mental health, right? But we cannot help who we are. What advice would you give to these individuals?
What I would say, get connected in some sort of group, form a little group, whatever. If you don't have a group, it have the DPI group. Probably could talk to persons and help boost the self-esteem. That is the main thing. But this is how we are, and we have to accept this, and we can't do nothing about this, but just make a difference, a change to help others.
Awesome. Sheena, I want to say thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. I think this was very impactful. And you're an example as a mother, because you took your story and you use your children as your strength, that to boost your self-esteem and to accept who you are. And that is commendable. So thank you so much. Guys, with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to this week's segment of Unique Not Different. As I always say, be good, be good. Bye, everyone.